For Session Update, I'm Shannon Lurkey. Senate Majority Leader Paul Gazelka and Senator Karin Housley, chair of the Senate Aging and Long-Term Care Committee, unveiled the proposed Elder Care and Vulnerable Adult Protection Act at a state capitol press conference. State lawmakers, including Governor Dayton, have made vulnerable adult protection a priority this session. Here's that press conference.
Well, good morning. As you are aware, a few weeks ago we rolled out our Advancing Minnesota related to tax relief and a number of issues, but one of them was about caring for Minnesotans, everything from safe and secure schools all the way out to elder care. And so today, Karin Housley is going to release a press conference related to this. I'm so proud of her and the work that she's done. It's very difficult. There's different sides of this that want one thing but not the other. What Senator Housley has done is brought the sides together, picked the things that really will work, that we can actually pass. And that's been the Senate strategy, is what are the things that we can actually do, and let's do those, and let's move them forward. And so with that, I'd like to have Senator Karin Housley take over. Thank you.
Thank you. I got a stool. Thank you for coming today. I'm Senator Karin Housley, and today we introduced the Elder Care and Vulnerable Adult Protection Act. And some of you know the story, but not everybody, so I'll tell you again. The reason I have been so passionate about this issue is my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 8 years ago, and traveling that journey with her, from moving her from her home to her assisted living to another assisted living and now in a nursing home, I became very passionate about the system and the way we go about taking care of our elderly here in Minnesota. And so I was very lucky to have the collaboration with the people behind me and the Minnesota Senate, that we were able to start an Aging and Long-Term Care Committee last year and really focused on this issue. And when we uncovered last year in January the horrible stories of abuse on our vulnerable adults and the lack of transparency and accountability within the Department of Health and the Office of the Health Facility Complaints, I've been focusing 95% of my energy on making sure that we fix this system and we really do protect our vulnerable adults. This Senate bill is the result of a lot of work. Been meeting ever since the session ended last year with all of the stakeholders, with elder voices, elder justice, the Ombudsman of Long-Term Care, the Department of Health, DHS, many family members, and also our providers, the senior living, assisted living, and nursing homes, to figure out, we all had the same end goal, and that is to prevent abuse on our vulnerable adults. So we've really had a long, thoughtful process in putting this bill together, and I think we have a really quality product that will be able to pass the Senate this year. I'll tell you a few of the things I'll tell you a lot of the things that are in the bill, because I'm really proud of this bill. One of the things that was a huge issue was the Office of Health Facility Complaints, and we really wanted to get to the root of what was happening within that office, and so we demanded that the legislative auditor do an audit of the Office of Health Facility Complaints, and we got his recommendations just a couple of weeks ago, so we incorporated those into the bills. But there was a lot of mismanagement, no direction. 49 of the 50 employees who are really good employees, it was just chaos over there. So family members were not getting answers to their reports of abuse on their vulnerable adult. Files were getting thrown away. So we really wanted to figure out how we could, does it take money or does it take management, or what needs to happen there? So in this bill, we require that the Office of the Health Facility Complaints reports back to us quarterly on what is actually happening. What trends are they seeing? What trends can they report back to the facilities in order to prevent some of these incidences? And so Commissioner Malcolm was before the committee the other day, and she had an 8-page letter of the things that she really wants to do, that she's committed to doing in fixing those in the Office of Health Facility Complaints. So we are requiring in this bill that they meet with us quarterly and report what are the number of incidences, how many have they filed up or followed up on, and how many have been completed and substantiated or unsubstantiated. It also, in the bill, makes the Office of Health Facility Complaints be much more transparent. Family members and loved ones hadn't been getting answers on these reports for up to a year, sometimes over a year. So this actually makes them stick to the guidelines that are already in statute to make sure they get back to the family members and which family members can get those reports back from the OHFC. So that was a very important thing that we heard from a lot of the family members and consumers. Also, we've increased regulations in housing with services. Not everybody knows that assisted living was not licensed. It wasn't under any umbrella. So we've moved housing with services under the Home Care Bill of Rights, which is really important because now the Minnesota Department of Health Commissioner can enforce the correction orders and fines. And that was always a gray area, and nobody knew where did assisted living and housing with services fall. So we've moved it under the Home Care Bill of Rights. Also, cameras was a really big one. And I spent the summer and the fall traveling throughout the state of Minnesota and meeting with the family members in their loved ones' assisted living or nursing home, and really hearing what was the priority of the consumers and clearing up our language and statute on can we have cameras. Our nursing home says we can't have cameras, yet I said you could have cameras. So we're really clearing up that law that the consumers can put cameras in their rooms and the providers can't take them down. It also increases fines and oversight. The current law allows providers the opportunity to correct a violation before MDH issues a fine. But our bill allows MDH to impose an immediate fine. So this was something that we also heard from the consumers, that they would get a second chance, but when an egregious crime was committed, they would just get a slap on the hand. So this really allows them to impose the fine immediately. And I'm trying to think what else there is in here. Task force, that was another one. Assisted living, and this came from the Office of the Legislative Auditor. Assisted livings, it's a big ball of wax in how we license them. And so as much as I hate task force and working groups because you want answers immediately, when it's something this big, we really, and we like to do it this way in the Senate too, is do a really thoughtful process and have all stakeholders at the table. So we have a task force for licensing of our assisted living, and we have an early deadline. We're pushing that to be at the beginning of session next year, to have this task force come with recommendations that we can have assisted livings under a licensure process. So that was huge. Also, a report card for assisted living. This came from the consumers. So when you are looking for a place for your loved one, making sure that when you go and look it up online, that you can see how it compares to other assisted livings or other nursing homes. What is its report card grade? And make it easy to find. And we also have a task force for the crimes imposed. What levels should the crimes be? $500 to $5,000. But let's really get a task force working on that and get back to the legislature quickly. There was one other thing. Anyway, that is the bill in a nutshell. We provide oversight and accountability for our state departments. We have fair and timely communications of information, which is important. Focus on prevention of abuse. And also, I know what it was. This was such an important process that there are so many amazing caregivers out there, and I think we keep reading on the front page of the Star Tribune, and I want to give them a hand for really exposing it because it needed to be talked about. But that's such a small percentage of caregivers that we do have in the state of Minnesota. I know with my parents, I have only had good care, and from 95% of the people that I've talked to, it's been really, really good care. So it was really important that we did have those caregivers in those facilities at the table when discussing these really, really sensitive topics. So that's what I'm most proud of, is really bringing people together. This was an issue that has been forgotten for so long. It's extremely disappointing that the governor did not mention it in his State of the State last night. It wasn't one of his priorities. And it is one of our priorities in the Minnesota Senate as Republicans, that we will make sure that this bill is passed. So thank you. If there's any questions?
Senator, the governor unveiled his plan a little bit earlier this week. You were critical of it, said it falls short and ignores some of the real problems. Which problems is he ignoring, and are they addressed here in your plan?
Thank you. I felt it was a one-sided. He appointed his working group. Why I admire and I've listened to everybody in that working group, from AARP to Elder Justice to Elder Voices. It was just one side, and when you also have the huge problem within the OHFC, that wasn't addressed, and that is his administration. That is where he failed, and that's been. I know Sheila Van Pelt has been since 2013. Emailing the government and the governor and his administration, trying to get answers why she wasn't getting answers. So to not look in the mirror was disappointing, I think, and to just take the one side and then not bring in the facilities and the nursing homes and the assisted living that are taking care of our loved ones. It's very important that they are part of the conversation, and he did not have them as part of his conversation.
Can you talk about where they overlap and where these plans differ?
Yep. We took much of the language that was in the AARP report, and that is in our bill. Almost, I don't know what percentage, because they're all very, very big bills, but we have a lot of the AARP language in our bill. But again, when it comes to the assisted living and the licensing, that even came from the Office of the Legislative Auditor's report to not do a knee-jerk reaction, because this is a really big issue, and he recommended that we do a task force, and I think the task force is a very, very important part, so that was left out of his bill.
And can you talk a little more about the rating system? Is that one that will happen, or a task force will be looking at it, and what will that resemble?
Yeah. It's a task force, and they'll be reporting back to us early next session on how your assisted livings will be, and I don't know how they're going to come up with rating, and that'll be up to the task force. But it is important, and right now, one of the other things that's in the bill that I forgot to mention is, and this happened to me, when you are, you're going through such an emotional time when you're putting your parent into an assisted living or a nursing home, and there's so many papers in front of you that you don't always know who is the umbrella owner of your assisted living or your nursing home, because many of them own, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 homes in the state. So disclosing that in the process going in, who is the overarching owner and what their physical address is part of what we'll be doing, that task force will be doing. And then when you are looking for a place for your mother or your father or your grandmother, being able to look that up and not have it be buried under that overarching owner. That's always a confusing, because their reports are out there, you just can't find them. So what this task force will do will be make it much clearer to be able to find the senior living home that you're actually looking to put your loved one in. Thank you very, very much. The bill is introduced today, and I look forward to talking to you throughout the rest of the session when we get this passed. Thank you.